Good morning. This morning I want to take a look at resumes. I know that's a really difficult concept to get across when you're thinking through your own experience and you're trying to get across it to someone else whom you don't even know who they are probably. So let's take a look at some tips, some hacks for resumes that make for a good resume. And the first thing I want to talk about is action verbs. We tend to be very passive people. We tend to think passively, tend to write passively, and what the heck does that mean? So basically there's a lot of different types of passive verbs, but the main one that we use the most is the be verb, be, right? I think am, is, are, was, and were. Those are the big offenders, and again, there's nothing wrong with a passive verb. We use them constantly in grammar, in speaking. I'm probably going to say a whole bunch of them just in this recording, right? But we want, in a resume, you only have 5 seconds, right? You have that 5-second rule where people are picking up that piece of paper and they've got 5 seconds to impress them. You don't want to have am, is, are, was, or were anywhere in that because it doesn't give you any picture in your head. And that means that you are a non-entity and your paper's going away. So we want some action verbs. Now, how do I use action verbs? I've got something in front of you that's from topresume.com. And it tells you how you can kind of do a test for something that's passive. And the verb test here is looking for that verb form to be. And the idea is, can you insert the phrase by you after the verb, right? If you can, then you're talking about something that's passive. So we've got some examples here. Let me just give you this one right here. A 20% revenue growth was realized by me, by you, in our department over 2 years. We have a passive verb, right? So we look for the verb. If I can find the verb realized, if I can stick the word by you, by me after it, then we have something passive. Another example. A promotion to supervisor was awarded to me after only 1 year of service. Okay, so the verb awarded to me, it's passive. Okay, so we have, again, you can just look for the words am, is, are, was, were. There's other ones too, like have, but the primary ones are those be verbs that we want to look for and we want to eliminate. So what are the most action verbs? What do we want to use that are the most effective? Well, obviously it depends on the major that you are. Are you an engineer? Are you an English major? Are you economics? It depends on those things, but something that we want to look for lists of strong industry-specific action verbs to include. Some examples: advised, compiled, critiqued, coaches, designed, directed, any kind of verb that gives a picture of what you, because we want them to picture you doing something, right? We want to see you critiquing, we want to see you coaching, designing, directing, establishing, examining. We want to see that in our heads. And these particular words do just that. So let's look at another example here. Here is something by themuse.com. These are all over the internet, but here's one that just lists 185 powerful action verbs that make your resume awesome. If you don't know, if you're like, I'm not an English major, what do? I don't know how to find these words. Go find a list. They're everywhere, right? Just like, and here's this particular one I like because it sets it out in sections. This one is, okay, you led a project. Hey, you did that, right? You've probably done that at school, even if you haven't done it in work. So if you led the project, what could you do? You could be saying, you could say I chaired, I controlled, I coordinated, I executed, I operated. Any of those words, right? What if you envisioned and brought a project to life? Well, you administrated, you built, you charted. So you can throw a whole bunch of these words in, but you really want to kind of be careful and say, okay, I am applying for this particular job. What is this job going to entail? What kinds of skill sets do I need? Let me tailor the work experience I have in the past, the school experience I have in the past, with the right kind of verbs to show what we call transferable skills. So we want to have in our head the transferable skills from whatever you're doing currently to show that future employer how you are ready for it, right? If they want somebody that diagnoses things, but you don't have a job that already does things that diagnose things, think about it. How did I get that place? Now, this leads us to the last thing I'm going to quick talk through. How can I build a resume when I have nothing on it? I love Lifehacker. They always have some great stuff. So this quick article talks through, let's say you're somebody who has absolutely no job experience or very little job experience, and you're like, how can I write a resume if I don't have anything? Well, the first thing you want to do is start with a list, right? Not a resume so much. Or if you're looking at your resume, I know some of you have your resumes already accomplished, but then you're looking at it and you're like, I have a whole bunch of white space, or it just looks kind of puny, or what do I do with it? Go back and start with another piece of white paper, and think through make a list, right? Make a list of all your skills, all your talents, all your accomplishments, and all your achievements. And they don't necessarily have to be things like, I got a National Merit Scholarship Award. They could be things along the lines of what did you do, large and small, in all the jobs. Maybe you've babysat for your little brother and little sister. Well, that's a pretty high level, sophisticated skill if you really think through it. How did you had to keep them alive, for instance, and you had to keep them interested. You had to direct, you had to coordinate, you had to develop, you had to, right? There's all kinds of things that you had to do. What are the skill sets that you did in every one of those things that you've done, and how do you transfer them? How do you show that future job person, hey, I have this experience already. I have been a project manager for goodness sakes, I did this project managing. Maybe you can talk about babysitting, but how do you show the skill sets that you learned while babysitting? You don't just say, I was a babysitter. You say, I directed, I coordinated, right? So think about that very carefully. This article is quick and easy with stuff like that to kind of just get you through thinking through how to make that happen. Okay, so those are the 3 quick articles I will show you today. Good luck with your resumes. I'm excited about reading them when they come in, and I'll get you another viewpoint and think through, how can you continue to make those better. Ciao.